Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Today, the game is different.
I want to gamble. Gambling is a very serious business. Is that clear?
Welcome to House of Cards. Dave Weishottle with you here, deep from the swamps of Jersey. We've got a great show coming up for you. You know, the big story nowadays in gambling is sports betting, and it seems like everyone's trying their hand at it. However, a lot of people don't know quite what they're doing just yet. Well, I just read a book that will change all that. It's called The Logic of Sports Betting, written by Ed Miller and Matthew Davidow. It talks about how sportsbooks conduct their business, where the lines and odds come from, and what bettors have to look out for in order to make some real money sports betting. And we're going to have the authors on to talk all about it. Right after this, we're going to have Ed Miller and Matthew Davidow. So stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards. Hey, this is Dave Weishottle from House of Cards with your House of Cards gaming report for the week of June 26, 2023. History was made at this year's Belmont Stakes. The win of Arcangelo marks the first time a female trainer, Jenna Antonucci, won the race, and the race generated an all-sources handle of over $118 million, which is a record for a non-Triple Crown year. That handle was an increase of more than 5% over the previous non-Triple Crown record year of over $112,000 set in 2021. Pennsylvania's Gaming Control Board reported that the state's casino self-exclusion program hit 20,000 voluntary enrollments. The program was launched in 2006, where individuals can be asked to be banned from casinos or retail sportsbooks for a year, 5 years, or a lifetime ban. Individuals who have self-excluded may be charged with criminal trespass if they enter a Pennsylvania casino and have their winnings related to that visit confiscated. And finally, Caesars World Series of Poker Gladiators of Poker Tournament drew a huge crowd. According to reports, there were 23,102 entrants for the $300 buy-in tournament. That figure is reportedly the second largest live poker event ever. And as you can imagine, the tournament surpassed its $3 million guaranteed total prize pool. Looks like people are back to playing live poker. Have any news or tips regarding casinos, gaming, or legislation? Send us an email at newsroom@houseofcardsradio.com and follow us on Twitter at HOC Radio.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Where was the house? Where was the House of Cards?
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishottle with you. You know, sports betting is becoming a huge business in this country, with more and more people trying their hand at it every day. Hell, listeners can stick around for the commercial break, and they'll probably hear a couple commercials for sports books. That's why I'm excited to talk to our next guests. They have written, in my opinion, one of the best books on sports betting out there today. It's called The Logic of Sports Betting, and we have both authors on today, Ed Miller and Matthew Davidow. Ed and Matthew, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. I'm Ed.
I'm Matt.
Okay. Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, I talked to you off air, and what a great book it is. I mean, what made you write this book about sports betting? I know both of you have a background in poker. What is so interesting about sports betting that inspired you to write The Logic of Sports Betting?
So Matt and I have, Matt's been involved in sports for a long time, well over a decade. And I got involved. I kind of transitioned my efforts from poker to sports in about 2015. I first got into it with Daily Fantasy, and then I met Matt, or reconnected with Matt shortly thereafter, and we decided to start working on sports modeling stuff full time at that point.
There's just so much misinformation out there, I think, and when people think about sports betting, they think about a narrative, and this team's going to beat that team, or this is the sharp side today, and there's a lot more to it that we find fascinating, and we were hoping to share that.
You know, as I said, more and more people are trying their hand at sports betting, and I love how you started off the book on how people should view the idea of placing a bet. I know a lot of people just think it's them against the sports book, but that's not really the case, is it?
Yeah, that's not the case at all. It's funny because, if you're in Las Vegas, and you walk into a sports book, you see guys sitting by themselves in a cubicle with a sheet of paper and, maybe a notebook, and they're doing calculations, and it looks exactly like the guy doing the Sudoku puzzle.
Really, if you look at it, if every sports book had the same line, it kind of would be a Sudoku puzzle.
Right.
You look at the lines, you make your own determinations, and you go from there. However, every sports book has a different line. If you think about a situation in a football game where one sports book has a 3.5, one sports book has a 4.5, and I'm a bettor, you can clearly see how if I see the 3.5 and the 4.5, this sports bet is a three-way game between both sports books and myself.
One of the first concepts I read in the book, and I thought was a great point, was, the whole idea about sports betting is to get the best value for your bet and to avoid what you called the picked over effect. What is that, and why should bettors be looking at that?
Right. So, it's this, again, goes back to kind of the fallacy with thinking about it as like a puzzle or a one-person thing, because if you're looking at a football line, you're looking at the 3.5, say, well, you're not the only person who's looking at that 3.5. There's a whole country full of people who are looking at exactly that same line, and there's some people who bet a lot of money who look at those lines pretty much all the time. They sleep maybe a little bit, but and if there was something that was just great value, if a sportsbook was just giving money away, well, somebody else would have seen that. Now, this is not to say you can't possibly beat sports betting, but because you obviously can, but you have to understand that every line you're looking at has also been looked at by other smart people. If there was value there, they probably would have gotten it. Certainly if there was easy value, if it was just obvious value, they would have grabbed it. Eventually, if people bet something, the line moves and then it goes away.
At the core of any betting activity are two important concepts that you guys touched on. That is the break-even percentage and the hold. I want to talk first about the break-even percentage. What is that, and why is it so important for bettors?
Well, the break-even percentage is the percent your bet has to win in order for you to break even if you theoretically make the same bet over and over and over again. So, like if I'm flipping a coin, the break-even percentage is 50%. Now, the minute I change those odds from American 100 to -10 or, decimal 0.91, et cetera, the minute I change those odds, now if I want to break even on my bet, I have to win a different percentage at the time.
Yeah, so the way, sports betting odds are presented in the U.S. are in American odds. And I have to say, I'm way used to American odds. That's what I've been looking at for 20 years. But, if you're an alien and you're just seeing them for the first time, maybe it's not the best way to express this stuff, right? So let's say you got a baseball game and the Yankees are -150. Well, what does -150 mean? It means that you have to bet $150 to win 100. The minus means that's how much you have to bet to win $100. So what is the break-even percentage of that? That, to me, that's the more useful number. Well, if you're betting 150 to win 100, then if you bet 5 times, you have to win 3 out of those 5 times to break even, because you're going to lose 150 twice. If you lose, that's 300. And then you win 100 3 times, that's 300. So you're going to break even if you win 3 and lose 2. That means your break-even percentage has to be 60%. So I think that 60% number is a more useful number to think about when you're analyzing sports bets logically than the -150 number. So we in the book suggest, we give you kind of a formula, a quick way to convert between that, that minus plus notation and the break-even percentages, which really let you think more clearly about it.
Now, the second concept you really discuss a lot in the book is the hold, which is the way a sports book makes money. What should bettors be aware of when it comes to that figure?
So again, in the book, we to me, this is a very basic concept. The hold is exactly how a sports book makes money. They put -110 on both sides, and we teach you in the book how to calculate the hold percentage, first of all. And then beyond that, the more interesting point is how to get that hold percentage down not from one sports book, but by comparing two different sports books or two different markets against each other, which is really an extremely core sports betting concept. So as a simple example,
really, it's a core gambling concept.
Yeah, it's a core gambling concept.
Sure.
The concept applies in financial markets, it just applies in almost any, money sense, really. But let's say you have, two sports books, and they both have the Yankees-Red Sox game. And at one sports book, the Yankees are minus 150 and the Red Sox are plus 140. And then at another sports book, the Yankees are minus 142 and the Red Sox are plus 132. Okay? So you got two sports books, same game, same markets, same outcomes. You can't tie. Baseball games don't tie, right? Mm-hmm. So at sportsbook A, you've got the Red Sox plus 142. At sportsbook B, plus 140. At sportsbook B, you've got the Yankees minus 142. So each of the sportsbooks on their own have their, quote unquote normal hold on the game. But from your perspective as a bettor, you can take plus 140 at one book or minus 142 at the other book. To you, it just looks like a market that's only 2 cents, plus 140 minus 142, which means you've taken that hold, that the hold that the sportsbook has on it, and you've cut it by like 80%, basically.
To simplify, would you rather play a line that was minus one, pick a side between minus 142 and minus 132, or minus 142 and plus 140?
Right.
And the way to find the minus 142 and the plus 140 is to sign up accounts at sports books and look for lines.
Yep.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards.
For everybody. Oh. Game starts at 20, bet slip is empty. I gotta call KG. KG, what up?
I got nothing for you, Fox.
Come on. What you got, huh?
And it's spa day, Jamie. You don't interrupt spa day.
Okay. Gracie, what's up?
I need some tips.
Jamie, you want a tip? Yeah.
No.
Come on, somebody. Jalen, what's up, man?
You want a tip?
Yeah. You really want a tip? I really need some tips.
Don't call somebody on live TV, Jamie Foxx.
Well, you answered. Have other friends anyway. Marshawn, Barry, holla.
Jamie Foxx. Hey, what's up with it, Fox?
Listen, I need some tips.
I like L.A.
L.A.?
No, Dallas.
Dallas
not the
Dallas?
best. We gotta get to Miami. How about Detroit? Nah, Barry over there.
You know what? I'm gonna call y'all right now. Vanessa, I need your help.
I got a tip for you. Always go with your gut.
I like that. Going with my gut. Let's go with our gut.
With costs going up, Adam & Eve is the best deal around. With 50% off a sexy adult product at adamandeve.com. That's 50% off right now when you point the camera on your smartphone at the code on the screen. Don't get up. Just open your camera and point it at the screen. Hurry! You'll also get 10 free gifts, including free discreet shipping at checkout. This is your chance to get more for less. So scan now for 50% off plus 10 free gifts from adamandeve.com.
Drizzly makes it easy to shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and liquor from wherever I am. I just open the app, find what I want, and it's at my door in under 60 minutes.
Drizzly. Ding dong, Drizzly.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Nice. Not thrilling, but nice.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishaupt with you. For those of you just joining us, I'm talking with Ed Miller and Matthew Davidow, who wrote the book, The Logic of Sports Betting. I gotta tell you, I love that concept when I read it in the book. I mean, that whole type of synthetic hold when it comes as close to zero as possible, using the different sports books against each other almost.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I thought that was the end of the question. It's funny how often you know, from the sportsbook side, they often think, well, we're going to hold 4% on this game. We're going to put up this 4% hold, this 5% hold, and that's what we're going to hold. Yet any bettor that's looking across various sportsbooks is going to lose less than that, and that's right off the top. By opening the accounts, by shopping lines, you're going to lose less than that hold. If you shop lines and look and think about it enough, you're going to get the hold on your side.
Now, does that concept and that technique really help the bettors who are living in states with a lot of sports books? I mean, for example, I'm sitting here in New Jersey. I can go to any brick and mortar sports book in New Jersey or in Pennsylvania. And plus I have like 3 sport book apps on my phone. However, people living in Rhode Island that have 2 brick and mortar sports books with no mobile sports betting, how does that technique you just described about creating a synthetic zero hold benefit people in New Jersey more than Rhode Island?
Well, it's interesting you ask, because obviously in New Jersey you're blessed with many options. You're currently blessed with a lot of marketing dollars being thrown at bettors and many lines. You can sit at your house, you can look at the lines, you can choose the best ones. Now, of course, everybody else is doing the same thing. That's the picked over effect. There's some very good bettors in New Jersey. They're also sitting looking at the exact same apps, looking for the exact same bets. However, in Rhode Island, where there's only a couple of brick and mortars, they take lower limits. There's probably not the same sharp bettors that are sitting in those brick and mortars. Therefore, if you lived in Long Island, it might be harder, it might be more time consuming, but less picked over effect. You go to the casino, you look at the lines. Now, of course, you're only able to bet at the lines in Rhode Island, but if you also are able to see lines at other places in other states, other sports books, you can create the same synthetic holds. Now, of course, you won't be able to place the bet in New Jersey when you like that side. You'll only you'll get the bets that you find in Rhode Island. But if you take the same concept and you only play the bets that you would take in Rhode Island, you'll actually end up doing better than at the sharper places in New Jersey when you're competing with the best of the best.
Yeah, because the key, the sort of interesting idea there, I think, is so I agree, obviously, completely. So on one hand, the competition in New Jersey really helps bettors because obviously there's so many different options, and it gives you more ability to get those holds down. On the other hand, as Matt pointed out, there's also a lot of competition from the bettor side. And sometimes you can find, the road less traveled sometimes can be profitable too. But the interesting idea, I think, is that you don't actually have to be able to bet both sides. It's useful information to know that someone somewhere is taking money on a bet at a certain number. Because, and this is a more general sports betting concept, anytime anyone is willing to actually bet real money on something, that's useful information. And that's information that you can use to your advantage, even if you're sitting in Rhode Island and you can't actually accept the bet yourself.
A great example of a Rhode Island, the type of example. I have a friend who lives in Mississippi, and which is a similar situation to Rhode Island. I think it's changing, but at least for now, it's only brick and mortar. There's no mobile, and some of the places are somewhat independent and run by some of the smaller operators. And he was able to go to one of the brick and mortars, sit there, wait for the halftimes of the college basketball games, and they were actually using a European basketball model that had the totals to where there was more points in the first half of their college basketball games. So these things were like 5 and 6 points off of other sports books across the world. He just bet about 500 a game throughout the season and ended up making a solid 6 figures, and that's something that would never happen at an app in New Jersey where someone could be sitting on their couch at home, seeing the same thing, picking off the same numbers. The fact that he lived in a small place in Mississippi where he had to go to a place where not many people were to get this was the same reason the numbers were so. I mean, he was playing into a synthetic hold that was in his favor of like 10%.
Right.
One of the questions we get from our listeners regarding sports betting is where do these numbers and odds come from? And I think the great thing about your book, The Logic of Sports Betting, is you pull the curtain open on this industry and explain why the numbers are what they are. Can you explain the difference in market-making sportsbook versus retail sportsbooks? Because I think it's a really important distinction that you made in your book.
Well, I think years ago there was a guy in the Man of Vegas, a legend named Bob Martin, and he was, I considered the sharpest better, and that's where the term the Vegas line comes from. It was basically his line. Well, of course, that was, years before internet. Today, everybody shares information. The information gets shared often within seconds. Therefore, it doesn't take one person setting lines in one place and then people asking what lines it is. Everybody, the entire planet of sports fans is participating in this process. Ed?
Yeah. So the market making process is just the simple idea that I think a lot of people have about bookmaking is you put up a line, you take a bet, and you move the line, right? and you do that enough times, okay, I put up pick'em. Someone wants to bet on Alabama. Okay, I move the line to Alabama -1. Someone wants to bet on Alabama again. Okay, I move the line to Alabama -2. And I just keep going until people stop wanting to bet one side overwhelmingly and start to want to bet either side. And now I've found a pretty good line. So that's the concept of market making. It's called price discovery. Again, this concept applies in financial markets and all sorts of things. So the thing is, though, that not everyone is going to have, you need some sort of betting liquidity, for lack of a better word. You need enough bettors who are interested in the market to make a market like that. Well, what happens if you want to put a lineup for a game where, you don't really have, hundreds of bettors in your market interested in betting? You only have a few, but you want to put a lineup for them. So an example I often give is think about Australian rules football, right? So in New Jersey, I'm sure there are some Australian people who want to bet Australian rules football, but really there probably aren't that many. And whereas in Australia, the whole country wants to bet on Australian rules football. So you got a sportsbook based in Australia. They can easily do the market-making process. They can put up a line. They can take bets. They can move the bets on action, and they're going to find a good line. If you're in New Jersey and you want to put up a line on Australian rules football, what are you going to do? You're going to copy the sportsbook's line in Australia, right? So they did the work. They found a good line. And now you just say, okay, well, that's a good line. Let me just put that up and offer it to my bettors. Now, and that's what we call the retail process. That's where we're saying, okay, we're just going to let our customers bet, basically buy a bet from us on Australian rules football at the prevailing price that we know about. Now, the problem from the retail bookmaker's perspective is they don't really know where that line came from. All they're looking at is a screen that says, -12.5 on Sydney or whatever. And, they don't know. They just put -12.5. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you have the smartest Australian rules football bettor in the world in New Jersey, and, they want to unload on your numbers. So the sportsbook potentially could be at a disadvantage when they're trying to, copy a market maker in that way. But that's the basic idea.
We see on TV the sports analysis and these betting experts. They're telling where all the public money is going on a game, which side has the most money going to it. Is that an important fact, and how do bettors use that information about who's betting on who?
So the answer to this was a little bit complicated, and it has to do with that market maker retail concept. So there's a lot of people who bet real money every day into American sports markets. And, they tend to bet in certain places and not others for various reasons. And so their action is going to tend to show up, only at a subset of all the available sports books, and then there are other sports books where they're going to predominantly get, public money. So in other words, not these, sort of more hardcore bettors that bet bigger and, spend more time on this. So the way that shakes out is that kind of everybody involved in this market knows about this. This is not a secret. And so everybody knows that the lines that are arrived at where the sort of sharper people tend to bet are going to be sharper lines on average, because the market making process tends to happen, better there. And therefore the line that you get at those sports books is going to be a little sharper. Well, what often happens is that the sports books that don't take a lot of the sharp action often tend to behave kind of like in the Australian rules football example. They say, okay, well, instead of take a bet, move a line, let me just kind of peg my line to whatever they have where I know where the sharp guys are betting. So what that happens is that the line tends to get set at different sports books predominantly than where the public money gets bet.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards.
With costs going up, Adam and Eve is the best deal around. With 50% off a sexy adult product at adamandeve.com. That's 50% off right now when you point the camera on your smartphone at the code on the screen. Don't get up. Just open your camera and point it at the screen. Hurry. You'll also get 10 free gifts, including free discreet shipping at checkout. This is your chance to get more for less. So scan now for 50% off plus 10 free gifts from adamandeve.com.
If you don't have final expense life insurance, this message is for you. LifeCare provides valuable information about whole life insurance to help cover final expenses, medical bills, burial costs, and other final expenses. A final expense life insurance policy is fast and available to anyone between the ages of 50 and 80. No medical exam, no lengthy questionnaires, and no waiting period. Just answer a few questions and we'll do the rest. With the average funeral costing $9,420 and Social Security only paying $255, you need simple peace of mind for you and your whole family. Don't leave behind unpaid expenses. Your premium will never increase. Your policy will have a cash value and a death benefit that can never decrease. To find out how you can get final expense life insurance with a lifetime lock, call LifeCare at 800-459-8822. That's 800-459-8822.
You're listening to House of Cards. Check out our website at houseofcardsradio.com.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishottle with you. House of Cards is brought to you by BetMGM Casino. Play your favorite casino games at BetMGM Online Casino. Slots, table games, live dealer games, everything you love about Atlantic City and Vegas, all online at BetMGM. Go to BetMGM Casino, create an account using our promo code Turnpike, and become a verified player. New players get $25 free when signing up, plus a first deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's promo code Turnpike at BetMGM.com for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $25 free. Must be 21 years or older to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Ed Miller and Matthew Davidow, who wrote the book, The Logic of Sports Betting. Sorry about that. Radio has to do its business, you know. Why don't you continue what you were saying before the break?
It would be a good example of this. Like, how much did New Jersey lose in the Super Bowl? It was well publicized. Well, it was, what, 1.4 million?
Oh, it was more than that, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, however much it was, you think about it, why did they lose so much? Well, they lost so much because they decided to make a bet with the people on the other end of the bet, that the public bet on the Patriots. They said, you know what? Instead of moving the line, trying to take action on the other side, we're just going to hold this and hope that the Rams cover +3. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. It's in fact a good strategy. It happens every day across every market and every sport by the same sportsbooks. They're not balancing this action. They're simply holding the action they think is good, hoping that, you know, their side will, you know, win the game or cover the game enough of the time, which obviously they mostly do. And therefore, for the most part, as a bettor, we don't really see the public money moving the line. And if you think about it, I mean, the Super Bowl line moved some. Well, yeah, if they had, well, like you said, much more than 1.4 million, you know, bet on the side. If you take a, you know, run-of-the-mill, even NFL game, the game on Sunday afternoon, there's a lot less action in the game. They're not moving the line on the public action on that game.
Yeah, they'd rather gamble against the public than you know, kind of in their mind they're giving some of their, you know, their EV back.
Well,
you know,
they are.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
Look at it from their perspective.
For sure. I'm not saying they're making a mistake at all. I think they're making a very logical business decision. But the reality from the bettor's perspective is, well, if the sportsbook doesn't move the line, then you can't bet against the public because they didn't move the line, right? So that's kind of the idea. Yeah.
I got to tell you, the one concept that I loved in your book, The Logic of Sports Betting, you guys make the great point that in order to find good bets, a bettor should attack a sportsbook when they are vulnerable and avoid betting into a sportsbook's strengths. What are some of the strengths and weaknesses of a sportsbook that a bettor should be aware of?
So
in play.
Yeah, in play. So So in-play is a big one. I mean, this is a big one that's coming. So
I got to tell you, it's huge in New Jersey. That everyone's talking about in-play betting in Jersey. So it's such a big issue.
The strongest lines are these ones that, get tons of market making, where there's tons of time. Everyone can look at the lines. Everyone can take a bet. The more this picked up, the more all these processes.
More stories about the information.
Right.
Everyone's sharing in the process of making the line.
Right. So the lines that get made that way end up being the strongest lines. Your NFL sides and totals, your NBA sides and totals, all those big numbers that everyone talks about. All the bets that are smaller, that fewer people are talking about, fewer people are looking at, maybe there's less time.
Here's a great example. The other night, Game 2 of the NBA Finals, the line was up for 3 days, means the same two teams playing anyway. Everybody's talking about the game. Everyone's analyzing the game. There's so much thought and money. There's bets both ways. I think the line closed, it was about Toronto 2.5. And that line has to be considered super sharp, super picked over, so much time, so many thoughts, so many people. Then, in the middle of the fourth quarter, Klay Thompson went up, he shot a shot, he came down, he was limping, cut the commercial. Sportsbooks put a line up. You were able to bet on Toronto plus points, Toronto to win the game, Golden State minus points at the time they were winning the game, Golden State to win the game. There was a total up. All of the places that then put up a line, they had to take in that information that Klay Thompson, Golden State's best player, may not finish the game, as well as the game situation, what was happening, all this information, they had to put up a lineup within seconds. At that point, there wasn't a whole day for everyone to look at the line, think about it. How hurt is Klay Thompson? Is he going to come back? Is he not going to come back? See the locker room. Let's go replay that. Is that a knee? Is that a hamstring? There wasn't time for any of this. Therefore, different places will have different numbers. Synthetic holds lower. I'm sure there was many cases of arbitrage, scalping, like negative hold, where I could take one-sided, +6 even money, the other sided -6 at plus money. I'm sure especially in New Jersey, I'm sure these spots about now the whole timeout lasted for 2 minutes. But what a great opportunity for bettors. No matter what side you want, you would have been able to profit at that point. Whereas an hour before the game, good luck.
Right.
Yeah, that was a lot of people's questions about in-play betting because, bettors have limited time. They really can't go shopping around and looking at the different sports books, especially if you don't have mobile where you're at. What are some of how should a bettor use the limited amount of time when you doing in-play betting?
Well, what a great question. The way I would look at it is I would take, if I have mobile, I do in Nevada, I'll look at a couple of sports books that, will accept, the action, and I'll look at those lines. If I'm in a brick and mortar, like your Rhode Island, suggestion, I'll look at the Rhode Island line. Now, what I would do is I would compare the line in the brick and mortar in Rhode Island, or even the Nevada sports. I would compare that line to any other lines that can happen to see. And as more places come online and more information gets distributed, that I think will be a little easier. But you simply look at the places you can actually play at, and go from there. As a matter of fact, this feels like a shameless plug, but we're launching our company in the fall. We'll have free to use in-play odds throughout American sports on our website.
Wow,
so
that's great.
I'll tell you what to do in September. Look at our line, look at your sports book, decide which one is sharper. If there's a negative synthetic hold and you think that you like our side, well, bet the other side.
Right. Yeah, our website's going to be deckprismsports.com, deck, D-E-C-K, prismsports.com. And yeah, as Matt said, our company is we're going to supply lines to sports books, but also, at least in the meantime and possibly indefinitely, we plan to also publish a lot of our lines on our website.
More than anything, we're trying to raise the water level.
Yeah, exactly.
Same with the book.
We think more information for everyone, bettors, operators, regulators, lawmakers, everyone, the better. That's kind of where we're at, and that's the approach we're taking.
Now, like I said, you have an amazing book here, and the amount of information. I've been a gaming lawyer for 25 years, and I learned so much from reading this book. It's just fantastic. But I want to ask you something. A lot of bettors are familiar with the point spreads and the money lines, and what you guys call related markets. I mean, are they the places where bettors find the most value, or you think it's the derivative markets like prop bets and future bets where bettors can really do well in finding good bets?
Well, so when we say related market, we really are just talking about two markets where, the price is logically related to one another. So one related market might be, Toronto's chance to win game one and Toronto's chance to win the series. Obviously, those are related, right? The more likely Toronto is to win game one, the more likely they are to win the series. Also, there's bets within the game one. Toronto to win game one, Toronto to win the first half of game one. Obviously, if they win the first half, they're more likely to win the game. First quarter, even some props can be related. What is the Kawhi Leonard over prop is probably related to Toronto winning the game. All that kind of stuff. Basically, any two bets that you can think, how are these related? If one wins, is one more likely to win, and vice versa? Those are related markets.
Usually this is a spot that takes math. If you want to compare related markets, no matter what, you have to use some level of math. An example of this I was actually asked yesterday. I was telling somebody how much I like the Toronto Raptors in general in the series versus Golden State. The person I was talking to said, "Oh, well, then you must have bet the Raptors for the series." Well, no, as a matter of fact, I didn't. The reason being, I used math to compare the game lines that I saw, my ideas for the game lines would be later in the series, and I used them to compare that to the series price. I have an Excel spreadsheet with if statements. Again, this is a couple levels higher, but I used the math, compared the lines, and determined that actually I was better off betting the Raptors in the games rather than the Raptors for the entire series.
Hold that thought, and we'll be right back with more House of Cards right after this quick break.
Attention. If you owe back taxes to the IRS, watch this urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by hiring 87,000 new agents to garnish your paycheck and put liens on homes and businesses. They can even seize your bank account. The IRS calls it enforced compliance, and now they have the manpower to get you. Penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily. So call One Stop Tax Relief Shop and get the IRS off your back. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. And no other tax shop gets you more or faster approvals. One Stop Tax Relief has resolved thousands of cases since 2014 and saved clients millions of dollars. Call now for a free consultation. Connect with tax professionals who get the IRS off your back.
Call 800-605-0688. 800-605-0688.
One Stop Tax Relief Shop.
You know what I'm saying? In front of everybody. Oh. Game starts at 20, bet slip is empty. I gotta call KG.
KG, what up?
I got nothing for you, Fox.
Come on. What you got, huh?
It is spa day, Jamie. You don't interrupt spa day.
Okay. Gracie, what's up? I need some tips. Jamie, you want a tip? Yeah. No. Come on, somebody. Jalen, what's up, man? You want a tip? Yeah. You really want a tip? I really need some tips. Don't call somebody on live TV.
Jamie Foxx. Well, you answered. Have other friends anyway.
Marshawn, Barry, holla.
Fox. What's up with it, Fox?
Listen, I need some tips.
I like L.A.
L.A.?
No, Dallas.
Dallas?
Dallas not the
Dallas?
best. We gotta get to Miami. How about Detroit? Nah, Barry over there.
You know what? I'm gonna call y'all right now. Vanessa,
I need your help.
I got a tip for you. Always go with your gut.
I like that. Going with my gut.
Let's go with our gut.
Hey, this is Dave Weishadow from House of Cards with your House of Cards gaming report for the week of June 26, 2023. History was made at this year's Belmont Stakes. The win of Arcangelo marks the first time a female trainer, Jenna Antonucci, won the race, and the race generated an all-sources handle of over $118 million, which is a record for a non-Triple Crown year. That handle was an increase of more than 5% over the previous non-Triple Crown record year of over $112,000 set in 2021. Pennsylvania's Gaming Control Board reported that the state's casino self-exclusion program hit 20,000 voluntary enrollments. The program was launched in 2006, where individuals can be asked to be banned from casinos or retail sportsbooks for a year, 5 years, or a lifetime ban. Individuals who have self-excluded may be charged with criminal trespass if they enter a Pennsylvania casino and have their winnings related to that visit confiscated. And finally, Caesars World Series of Poker Gladiators of Poker Tournament drew a huge crowd. According to reports, there were 23,102 entrants for the $300 buy-in tournament. That figure is reportedly the second largest live poker event ever. And as you can imagine, the tournament surpassed its $3 million guaranteed total prize pool. Looks like people are back to playing live poker. Have any news or tips regarding casinos, gaming, or legislation? Send us an email at newsroom@houseofcardsradio.com and follow us on Twitter at HOC Radio. House of Cards is brought to you by BetMGM Casino. Play your favorite casino games at BetMGM Online Casino. Slots, table games, live dealer games, everything you love about Atlantic City and Vegas, all online at BetMGM. Go to BetMGM Casino, create an account using our promo code Turnpike, and become a verified player. New players get $25 free when signing up, plus a first deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's promo code Turnpike at BetMGM.com for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $25 free. Must be 21 years or older to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hey, this is Dave Weishuttle from Turnpike Sports with this week's Bet Flash. Last week, 2 states legalized sports betting, both on the same day. On Wednesday, June 14th, Vermont Governor Phil Scott signed sports betting into law, and on the same day, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper put his signature on the bill legalizing sports betting in the Tar Heel state. Both states could possibly start their sports betting industry in January of 2024. New York State reached some milestones in sports betting in the month of May. With its May sports betting report, New York State became the second state to top $2 billion in revenue, joining New Jersey as the only states to reach that mark. The Empire State also became the first state to ever reach $1 billion in tax revenue. And finally, the NFL has hired former Patriots and Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady to help persuade NFL players from violating the league's gambling policies. According to sources, Brady has done an intro to a video outlining the NFL's policy, which prohibits players from gambling on anything related to the NFL or placing bets at team facilities. From the seaside to the desert, from the betting lines to the sites online, Turnpike Sports has got you covered. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at Turnpike Sports.
Spectrum Gaming rides again with the return of the Racing and Gaming Conference at Saratoga this August 14th through the 16th at the Saratoga Hilton in Saratoga Springs, New York. The Racing and Gaming Conference at Saratoga is the premier national forum for industry decision makers, advocates, and patrons to discuss and analyze gaming trends in all sectors of the industry. Over 50 experts from more than a dozen panels, all meeting for 3 days to examine the critical issues facing the gaming industry and share their ideas and insights. Register today at racingandgamingsaratoga.com to reserve your seat. And be sure and check out the website for full agenda and conference speaker list. The Racing and Gaming Conference at Saratoga this August 14th through the 16th at the Saratoga Hilton in Saratoga Springs, New York. Register today at racingandgamingsaratoga.com.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Whoa! I think we got a show. Oh, yeah, we got a show. We definitely got a show. Oh, yeah, there's a show. Hey, it's all about ratings, baby, and we got them.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Ed Miller and Matthew Davidow, who wrote the book, The Logic of Sports Betting. You know, you guys made a really interesting point about future bets. Can you talk a little bit about future bets, and is that a place where bettors right now can find real value?
Sure. So the futures bets are kind of a double-edged sword, and this is sort of a timely question because in some ways this is I think what Jeopardy James has been doing a little bit, in his sports betting career. So futures bets are multi-way bets. Obviously, you can bet on any of 30, 32 teams to win the championship, 15 to win the pennant or whatever it is. So the way sportsbooks treat multi-way bets is they add more hold to the market. So instead of having like a 4% hold market like you'd have on a two-way market, you have like a 15, 20, sometimes even more percent hold on these futures markets. Now, you might be, the sort of, first level thinking is, oh, well, that hold is crazy. It's hard to beat a 4%. I'm not even going to think about a 15%. But that's actually not quite the right way to think about them because they're actually much, much harder for the sports book to price as well because now instead of trying to get like basically one number right, which is what they're trying to do on a two-way market, they're trying to get 15 independent numbers right. These numbers are all related to each other, and it's sort of the shape of a distribution. It turns out to be a much harder problem for the sports books, and they miss things all the time. So it's also not always on the top of their list of things to do. So let's say there's a champ. I mean, this happens in baseball. Let's say one team goes on a 10-game winning streak. Well, their chance of winning the pennant might have gone up by quite a bit. The sportsbook might be a little bit behind on that. They might not, maybe the team's still not in first place. They're not now leading. They're just, more likely than they used to be. They went up from 0.5% to, 3 or 4% chance to win the pennant. But that futures price is still stuck at, 1% maybe. All of a sudden it went from a bad bet to a really good bet, and no one was even paying attention.
People sitting in states with lots of sports books are constantly bombarded by books offering like bonus deposits, odd boost rebates. I know one book in Jersey is saying that if you get 3 legs of a 4-leg parlay right, you don't lose any money. Is there some real value for bettors in these promotions, or do you really have to examine these closely to see if there's value there?
So, I mean, obviously you have to examine them. You have to think about them.
Sure.
The ones I've seen, a lot of them have been very attractive. A lot of them I see are really great deals like that, but that doesn't mean every deal they offer is a great deal. I mean, you have to kind of look at them and think about, well, what are they really offering? How good is this deal? If they move it from minus 200 to minus 190 and they were already holding 6% on the market in the first place, well, maybe it's not a good deal. But, a lot of the ones I've seen have been really, really just very strong deals for the bettors that if you're just aware and you're in New Jersey or you're in a new state where there's lots of competitors and people running promotions that, honestly, if you just churn the promotions on a day-to-day basis, I think you can really, create a pretty solid earn.
Well, maybe a really easy way to think about it, too, is anytime you're betting with a promotion, whether it's a rollover bonus or on a, event that's being promoted in the way it's described, anytime when your bet is also in line with a marketing promotion, you're inherently going to be doing better than if it wasn't.
Right.
So, assuming you're gambling anyway, whether it's, with an edge, not with an edge, whether you're trying to win, not trying to win, no matter where you fall on this spectrum, by taking full advantage of what the sports books or operators are offering, you're going to end up with more money in the long run with very little less time possibly.
Ed and Matthew, we're running out of time, and we just scratched the surface of what's in your great book, but I want to make sure you tell people where they can get The Logic of Sports Betting.
Sure. So again, as you said, the book's called The Logic of Sports Betting. It's available at Amazon in Kindle and paperback format currently. And we don't have audiobook yet, but we're working on it. But Kindle and paperback is available right now at Amazon.
We get a lot of books here at the radio show on different subjects in gambling, but I have to tell you, The Logic of Sports Betting by Ed Miller and Matthew Davidow is one of the best books on sports betting I have ever read, and I urge you, if you're serious about sports betting, to pick it up. Ed and Matthew, thank you for coming on and telling us all about it.
Thanks. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
And that's all the time we have this week for House of Cards. See you next week.
chain across the desert plain. You build a house of cards around a lover's